let me now turn my attention back to what's clearly my number one focus this year, artificial intelligence. And if you think I'm starting to get a little bit obsessed, frankly, you should be getting obsessed too, because it is the single biggest and perhaps the most dramatic story of the year. It is getting attention, but it is still not getting as much attention as it should. Most of the mainstream media, for example, blipped over a development earlier this week. An open letter calling for a 6-month pause on AI development beyond the basic levels at which it is already taking place. The letter reads, and I quote, "We call on all AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months the training of AI systems more powerful than GPT-4. This does not mean a pause on AI development in general, merely a stepping back from the dangerous race to ever larger, unpredictable black box models with emergent capabilities. AI research and development should be refocused on making today's powerful state-of-the-art systems more accurate, safe, interpretable, transparent, robust, aligned, trustworthy, and loyal." Now, do you know all of the people who signed that letter? Elon Musk, of course, the CEO of SpaceX, Tesla, and Twitter, Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, Noah Harari, co-founders of Skype, Pinterest, Getty Images. It's a really long list, and it includes some of the sharpest minds in the field of science and technology. So it's not just us being paranoid. This is something that deserves attention. And it deserves attention not because AI is inherently bad, but because it could be so powerful that it needs to be developed with care, with concern, and with guardrails. And if you read that open letter, that's essentially what is being said out there. Continue to develop it, but black box systems where you're not completely sure what is happening, and systems that can have emergent capabilities. That means it can start thinking for itself. It can do things which you can't predict. Be careful about those. Don't do those until we have put safeguards into place. That's essentially what the open letter is asking for. But if you watch our interviews with people like Nick Bostrom, there was one major reason for concern, and that's the Skynet sort of an eventuality, and you know how it goes. Artificial intelligence becomes artificial general intelligence. That artificial general intelligence becomes super intelligence, way more intelligent than human beings. It gets so many capabilities that it could wipe out mankind. You know, that sort of a situation. It's the standard threat. But that's not the only threat. Many of you have read Yuval Noah Harari, and it's another sort of a person who's now coming out and saying you need to think this through. He's considered one of the finest historians of our time, one of the best minds, as some people would say. Now, earlier this week, Harari wrote a piece on AI, artificial intelligence. In that essay, he argued that AI will be the end of us, but for a very different reason from what Bostrom wrote in Superintelligence. Harari began by asking the very same simple sort of questions that all of us have been asking for a while. Imagine that as you're boarding an airplane, half the engineers who built it tell you that there is a 10% chance that the plane will crash, killing you and everyone else on it. Would you still board it? Now, let that thought sink in. And as you're letting that thought sink in, remember that to some extent is what's happening right now. That open letter I was talking about, these are the people who developed AI. They are some of the most profound thinkers on AI. And they're writing open letters saying, this is so powerful, this is so strong, this is so major, it could potentially be an existential crisis. So you need to pause it, we need to think about this. Look at what Harari is saying. Harari cites a recent survey where 700 top academics and researchers working on AI were asked about the future risks associated with AI. Half of those surveyed, 50%, said there is a 10% chance that AI could lead to human extinction. Scary, right? Now, those who watch this show regularly will not be surprised, because this is something we've been talking about for a while now. AI is really important. It is really powerful. It is going to change our lives. It's going to change the world. But we need to be careful with it. But now, let's come to the twist. Harari says that the risk does not come from that Skynet scenario that you've heard me talking about in the past, but from the ability of these platforms to manipulate and to generate language, and through it to also manipulate communication and messaging. It's a whole different type of risk. Let me explain that a little bit further. Harari asks, what happens when AI starts writing virtually all stories, writing laws, writing books, writing policies? What happens when AI starts writing lyrics, painting pictures, creating art? What happens when AI starts painting an image of the world, one that it wants us to see? Not the whole world necessarily, not the real world, but AI's version of the world. You know, it could be a biased version. What happens next? The answer, simple. We humans will end up changing. Why? Harari argues that we humans in general are very easily manipulated. And hey, if you've been on social media, you know how easy that is. So Harari writes, and I quote, humans often don't have the direct access to reality. We are cocooned by culture, experiencing reality through a cultural prism. Our political views are shaped by the reports of journalists and the anecdotes of friends. Our sexual preferences are tweaked by art and by religion. That cultural cocoon has hitherto been woven by other humans. What will it be like to experience reality through a prism produced by non-human intelligence? For thousands of years, we humans have lived inside the dreams of other humans. We have worshipped gods, pursued ideals of beauty, and dedicated our lives to causes that originated in the imagination of some prophet, some poet, or some politician. Soon, we will also find ourselves living inside the hallucinations of non-human intelligence, unquote. I mean, look, I love Harari. The way he writes, nobody could have put that better. Not even AI could have written that better than Harari did. So let's hand it to him. Now, the question he's asking is, have we handed over the power of manipulation to AI? And will AI manipulate its way to human extinction? The possibility is actually quite high. And if you think all of this question of manipulation and shaping of reality is a bit far-fetched, ask yourself this question. What really decides your view of the truth and reality right now? Aren't you picking up a lot of that on social media? Aren't you being really influenced in some way by the stories that you tend to watch? And those are stories that are being sent to you on Instagram or Facebook, or algorithms are deciding that these are the stories that you should be watching. Those algorithms are AI also. Your version of reality, when you're hearing what's happening with Trump, for example, right now, the stories that you would be seeing perhaps if you are belonging to the right would be very different to the stories you're seeing if you belong to the left. So to some extent, that shaping of reality by algorithms are already starting to happen. I'm going to come back to this theme in subsequent programs, but to some extent, the echo chambers that we are living with, that is something that has already started to happen. You can call it AI manipulation, you can call it algorithmic twist, you can call it big social media companies doing what they need to do. But to some extent, reality is already being shaped.